We got a couple of really, really good offenses on the schedule. So let's kind of go through the schedule here for a minute for 2025. Going to open up in the Benz against Virginia Tech. So that's going to be a very interesting game. Now, should South Carolina win that game? Yes. South Carolina will probably be favored by 9 or 10, I would figure. Probably 9. I wouldn't think the full 10, but and if it's 9, I'm betting South Carolina. So I like South Carolina there, but that'll be a neutral site there in the Benz on August 31st. South Carolina State, no problem. Vandy is going to be on the 13th of September, and that's going to be at home. Then you finally go on the road week 4 on September 20th at Mizzou. There's a lot of changes that have went on over at Mizzou, right? As far as their offense and things like that. I'm feeling like South Carolina's defense is going to be able to hold their own in that one. And look, I'm in my head, I'm already considering that South Carolina is going to be able to run their offensive program on most teams. Now, I'm not saying they're going to score 40 points every game, but with Lenoris there, and the way he runs, and Nick Harbor, the way he kind of broke out of his shell, it felt like last year, especially towards the end of the season. My concern is more on the defensive side of the ball, so that's kind of what I'm focusing on when I'm looking at the schedule. But the 27th of September, going to be in Kentucky. Well, nobody really knows what Kentucky's offense is going to look like because it looked like if it looks anything like last year, the defense will be fine. Kentucky did not have an offense last year, although they were pretty strong defensively. And then here comes the gauntlet, man, at LSU. That's a game I'm really worried about, brother. But and I'll tell you why. It's not South Carolina's offense I'm worried about. It's their defense. And I'll throw a little grain of salt in there, though, man. I'm worried about every defense that's going against LSU this year. They're stacked on offense. If their offensive line can play decent ball, they're going to be really tough to deal with. They've got 6 wide receivers that a lot of people would die to have. I mean, they're just loaded. So that's going to be a big test for the South Carolina secondary in that game. So you've got a few weeks, I feel like, to iron some things out. And there's going to be some mistakes along the way. But that game right there, you got to come with your A game defensively. Oklahoma at home on the 18th of October. Alabama at home on the 25th of October. At Ole Miss. At Texas A&M on November 15th there. Coastal. And then you get Clemson at home. So I got some stars next to these: LSU, Alabama, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and Clemson. Those games make or break your season, brother. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them if you include Mizzou. I put a star by Mizzou's name, but I don't know what they'll be. But if you can win 3 out of 6 of those, I think South Carolina is going to be right there knocking on the door again for the college football playoff. You're going to have to win all the ones you're supposed to, and 3 of those, what I would consider to be toss-up games or possibly even underdog games, especially considering some of those are on the road. Going to depend on Ole Miss, going to depend on Texas A&M, but I feel like both of those teams are heading in the right direction. Ole Miss seems to have the tires run flat on them at the end of the season, so we'll see what they are by that point in November. What are your thoughts on this schedule, man? I mean, it's a tough one. South Carolina, when the SEC divided up, they were like, yes, no more Georgia for a little while. It didn't matter. This thing's just as hard. You know what I mean? It's just as hard as it's ever been. But, man, it makes for some entertaining television. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I think coming off of last season, you look at this schedule, and as tough as it is very tough. There's not a game on here that I look at and go, well, South Carolina can't win that, right? Going into last season, there were a lot of no, they can't win that. There were a lot of that. There was a lot of that talk. Alabama was one, and they should have won that game. Um, LSU was one, and they should have won that game.
Yep.
So I think that's the difference when I look at this schedule. It's very similar to what it looked like last year, but when I look at it this year, I don't see a for sure loss, and that just speaks to where this program is at, where the trajectory that Shane Beamer has this program on. I really can't say enough about it. But when I look at this schedule, I'm just kind of like an early glance at it. We haven't done an LSU breakdown yet. We haven't done a Missouri breakdown yet, or Oklahoma, Alabama. Like we're still early in this as far as our breakdowns. But based on what I know, I feel like this is very realistically a 9-3 team, and potentially a 10-2. I think 11-1 is probably a little bit of a stretch, just given the parity in the SEC right now. But if you told me that South Carolina was 11-1 at the end of this year, I wouldn't call you crazy, right? I would call you a fan, fanatical for your Gamecocks, and there's nothing wrong with that, especially in the spring. So yeah, I'm looking at this schedule. I like where the Gamecocks are at right now, and I think 9-3, 10-2 is probably where this team ends up.
Absolutely. Hey, and if you're a South Carolina fan, come back and join us here on the First and Long College Football Show. As Mason said, we're going to be doing deep dives, breakdowns after all the spring, games. Or if you're having a spring game, there's a lot of teams that aren't even having one this year, but they're still going to have scrimmages. We're still going to have all the the murmurs going on about what's going on at spring camp, and we're going to be here from now all the way into September.